Okay, so there's a lot of confusion around how to make one of these platformers. So I'm going to run you through the basic code for a platformer. I'm going to go from the very start to the very finish, but I'm going to try to do things as fast as possible. So first thing, I'm going to create some detection for my sprite. So I'm going to give him a nice pair of shoes, I'm going to give him a hat, and I'm going to give him a shield on the front, just so he can detect things that are on his side, on his feet, and on his head. Okay, so I'm just going to get that done. Okay, so you can see that's my cat. He's not looking great, but that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to shrink him down a little bit because if I'm going to have a platformer, I need to have him small enough that he can like interact with all the platforms and stuff. Okay, now I'm going to go to my backdrop and I'm going to draw all my platforms. That'll take a little while. Okay, so that's my platforms done. Now I need to create two variables, one for gravity and one for velocity, because we're going to start dealing with his jumps. Okay, so I've got two variables. Now I'm going to write some code here. Alright, so let's get this cat jumping. First thing we need to do is set up our universe. So we've already got a variable here for gravity and a variable here for velocity. Now I'm just going to say when the green thing is clicked, set your gravity to some amount. I'm choosing negative 0.3 as a default. And also set your velocity up, just the amount that you're moving up or down. Just set the velocity to 0, that's how things always start here. Now the first thing I'm going to do is set it up so that if my shoes are touching the ground and I press the up key, so two things are happening, shoes are on the ground and I press the up key, we're just going to move up a little bit, just to get us outside of the ground. So just code that up. Up arrow is pressed. And my shoes are touching the ground. Then I'm just going to change my Y position. The other thing I'm going to do is set my velocity. That's the speed at which I'm jumping. I'm going to set my velocity at 8. Now the only thing that this is going to do, if I press the up key, if we get this running, the only thing that this is going to do is nothing at the moment. So we've got to get a forever loop around there. We're always testing that over and over and over again. And you can see he leaps up out of the ground, but he doesn't really do a jump. He just goes boop, and he's out of the ground. For that we need to set our gravity and our velocity working. Okay, so now we need to tell our cat how to behave when it's in the air. So how should it behave when it's in the air? Well, this is going to be another forever loop. Now, if I'm in the air, if my shoes aren't touching the ground, something should always happen. So to use that, we're going to use our not command. If my shoes, make sure you choose the right color, the red. My shoes aren't touching the ground. Alright, so what we're doing is, if we're not touching the ground, we need to set our velocity. We need to set our velocity to velocity plus gravity. That means that our velocity is going to continue changing as we're in the air, because gravity is going to keep subtracting negative 0.3 away from it. And then we need to change our y value by that amount. Change our y by our velocity. Okay, let's see if we've got a jumping cat. Alright, you can see he's jumping pretty well there. we've got a jumping cat. Alright, so I'm quickly going to put some movement in here. Let's move left and right now. So when this is clicked, if key left arrow is pressed, point in the direction of left, point left, and move 10 steps. And I'll make a duplicate of that, and I'll do that for the right arrow, point him in the right direction, and also move him 10 steps. Let's see what that looks like. Don't forget to put it in a forever loop. Alright, let's see what it looks like. Okay, so you can see he's just fallen off there. The problem I have is that when he turns upside down. His rotation style is wrong. So let's fix that up. Let's set up his rotation style correctly. It's just by pressing the information button here and changing rotation style from this to this. Okay, now he's turning correctly. He can jump. Okay. Now the problem is, you can see here, if I jump, I can get into the ground here. I need to set up some way that my shield detects that. It detects the ground. So let's do some shield detection next. So the way I'm going to do shield detection is by making these arrows only work as long as yellow is not touching something. So I'm going to use not. So as long as the left arrow is pressed and yellow is not touching green. Finally, I'm going to have to put that in an AND statement. So it's left arrow is pressed and this color is not touching this color. Okay, I'll just make a duplicate of that little piece and I'll move it into here. But instead of left arrow, it's got to be right arrow. Let's try that again. Jump. Let's try to get stuck in it. You can see it's having trouble getting stuck there because that yellow thing is stopping it from happening. Okay, you can see there's a small problem. If I put my cat up there and I move forward, eventually my yellow touches that green and then I can't get him to bounce back. So let's set up something like a fail-safe that'll get him bouncing back. So when this is clicked, where are we? If yellow is touching green, get him to move 10 steps back. And put that in a forever loop. That's going to get us a bit of bounce back so he doesn't run into things. Let's see what happens now. Okay, you can see when I try to do it, he sort of bounces back off it. Alright, so we've just about got that. Last step, we want his hat to change his velocity. We want him to, when he jumps into things, we want his hat to send him back downwards again. So let's do that. When this green thing is clicked, just move this out of the way and sort of make things a bit small. When this green thing is clicked, if color blue is touching color green, then set the velocity to -0.5. Okay, and let's just create a forever loop there. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so it didn't work the first time, but I just had to change the color just by clicking it and clicking the hat again. You can see now he's bouncing back down. We don't need that little change Y there. You can see he's bouncing down. By setting our velocity to a negative number, he bounces off the ceiling. Okay, there's some basic collision detection. The other thing I'll say before we finish this up is that when you're doing this level design, try to create your level design that it forces the player to not glitch out the system. Try to set up your sprites and try to set up your platforms, etc., so that they're not doing things that will force your game to glitch. Collision detection is a little bit difficult, and even the best of games have some glitchy stuff. You'll end up in walls or floors or whatever it might be. So just try to design your levels in such a way that that won't happen. Alright, that's our platformer with some decent collision detection.